There's the robot I fell in love with.
I fell in love with him.
I fell down.
Oh, I fell down the stairs.
Fell down some stairs.
I fell down the stairs.
One time, I fell asleep while he was on the phone.
Ralph probably fell asleep in the washroom of Tappers again.
I know I fell asleep because
After lunch, Daisy fell asleep.
I'm sorry you fell in love with her.
I read the text.
I read the text you sent to Val, man.
I read the message to Maester Raymond.
Yesterday I read there were 2,000 people outside.
I read this book, right?
Yeah, I read the letter.
I heard once Winston Churchill read a book every night, even during the Blitz.
I read your book.
You slept here?
I slept on the couch during those.
Told him, I knew you slept on the couch.
Wait, is that why you slept on the couch last night?
You were out all day, you slept on the couch.
I slept on the plane, so I arrived in Paris with no jet lag.
You slept with Reba?
But I still felt horrible.
But when I saw your face after he hit you, I felt horrible for you.
That felt good.
Oh, God, that felt good, yeah!
That felt good.
I felt hopeless.
I felt it.
I just kept thinking about you.
I kept thinking about you.
I kept thinking about you all the time.
I kept thinking about the painting.
I just kept thinking about that guy.
I sold the coins and kept the money.
So I kept him, brought my work home.
They kept him in jail for 2 days, and they let him go free.
And you kept the cat?
I kept the dog.
My things were where I left them.
You left him a message?
So I finally left a message.
You left a message saying you found Leo.
I left a message and I said yes.
But then you left me.
Last time you left me a pistol with one shot.
You left a message at my office at 10 p.m.
I am still right here, where you left me. Yes, he had his problems, but we dealt with them together.
Never dealt with them myself, but
I dealt with her last year.
We never dealt with her, though.
She's the one who dealt with him.
I imagine you dealt with him with some regularity.
I already dealt with you.
They dealt with people, human passions on the grand scale.
I felt how much all of you meant to her.
She tells me how much my book meant to her.
I saw how much you meant to him.
He reminds me of you and what you meant to me then.
Look, I just want to write him a letter and tell him how much his book meant to me.
I know how much he meant to you.
That's not what I meant.
No, that's not what I meant at all.
No, that's not what I meant.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
You know, I actually think that I dreamt about you.
I never dreamt about you.
I dreamt about you last night, nurse.
I dreamt about you last night.
I dreamt about this.
I dreamt about a purple snake.
I dreamed of going to the West.
I always dreamt of going to Los Angeles.
I suppose that's where they learned.
But they learned a hard lesson, didn't they, friends?
They learned it from the dark woman.
She learned it from her mum.
He learned his German working in a factory.
Yes, we've learned so much about your family.
I learned to stay in the shadows.
I learned a lot of things.
We learnt about this in history.
We learned about them last term.
Druids.
I finally learnt my lesson.
He literally swept her off her feet.
Swept her off her feet?
Swept her off her feet.
And how? My husband, he swept me off my feet.
He swept me off my feet.
Yeah, and I swept the floors.
Ponytail swept the floor.
Swept the floor last night.
Yeah, she even swept the floor.
We just swept the floor, Mr. Benedict.
Did it cross your mind that you led them to me?
Well, he said a watcher led him to me.
And instead of catching him there, you led him to me.
It was the mountain that led me to you.
It also led me to you. It led to a really good talk.
Gosnell fled to the Bahamas for 12 years right after that.
So, in the late 17th century, they fled to the New World.
And so they fled to Prague.
They fled to the Lone Islands.
We know he fled to Mexico shortly after your...
He fled to London.